To have your child telling you, Mom, it is not dirty, makes you feel kind of stupid that I know it's not dirty, but my brain doesn't know that it's not dirty. And trying to explain that to him and him finally saying, you know, I hate your OCD. I knew he didn't hate me, but he hated my OCD, but my OCD was part of me. So it's like, you know, I had to do something. I've battled it for about 40 years, since I was about 10 years old. People outside of my family or that didn't know I had OCD probably didn't know that I had it because I was very good at making excuses. If I was walking on the sidewalk and I walked across a crack and thought my mother might die, I would backtrack. Otherwise, in my head, that bad thing was going to happen. My OCD was more with feeling like things were dirty when they really weren't, because my thoughts contaminated them. While I was washing my hands, if I had a thought that I didn't want to have or about someone that I didn't like or someone dying, then I would have to wash my hands until that thought went away. Situations that were very bad that I didn't want to be in, my brain tells me that that's a bad place, so anything associated with that place is contaminated. Things in my home life would get contaminated. My kids couldn't touch certain things, especially if it was from school, because school had a contamination aspect to it. My son would come in contaminated, and he would get all of his homework done at the dining room table. I physically cleaned with wipes the whole I love my dining room table, but I couldn't use it. In part of the house, the living room that was contaminated, we had a sofa. I cleaned it, Lysoled it. I love that couch, but I still wouldn't touch it. So we'd have to all come home and shower and put on clean clothes. And, you know, it got to where I would look at other people and see them going straight from work to the grocery store or out to dinner or doing things fun with their friends and think, you know, oh, how I wish I could just be normal like that.
When I come home from work, I literally would come home, shower, and sit in one chair that I knew I could sit in and not be able to touch anything else around the house, ever. There were times that you kind of stop and think, how much longer are we going to put up with this? It was very, very tough.
I remember hearing at one point, basically there is no cure for OCD. You're going to have it for the rest of your life. To hear someone actually say that, I was so discouraged. And it was so depressing to think, I'm going to be like this forever. My husband was on Facebook and saw the Bergen 4-day treatment. Just sitting on the couch on my phone, I went through the application and applied for it and just waited. I told my husband, I said, there is no way I could do exposure therapy without being heavily medicated. I could not do it by myself. As far as the treatment itself, we attacked it head on and faced a lot of my fears. We actually went to my house and we went through a box of things that had been packed away that were extremely contaminated.
How are you feeling about your hands? Do you feel like you need to wash your hands or anything right now? Or
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Mm-hmm. It's still there. You know, the struggle is still there, but each day. One of the stipulations was that I was not allowed to wash my hands. My son had baseball practice and my older son went with me, and I sat there and I said, well, I haven't washed my hands since about noon, and not even after I went to the bathroom or anything, so I need to go home and cook dinner. What would you like? And he's like, why don't we go out? 24 hours that I didn't wash my hands, and I was still okay. We went to Walmart and bought this little cloth, And they made me touch anything and everything. They even sent me into the bathroom, so the cloth touched the Walmart bathroom. So we went to my house and they had me touch everything, from touching my bed sheet to the couch, the chair. They were like, we don't want you to have any safe zones in your house. You know, it's never been washed. In fact, it gives me good feelings because it takes me back to those 4 days that I spent changing my life. And it's a good thing. It's a warm, kind of a warm fuzzy. That's what those 4 days did, was change my life. The fear that I had of ever even attempting exposure therapy, the anxiety was not what I expect. I mean, I didn't go through severe anxiety. The thoughts still pop into my head, but it's a matter of what you do with them.
Oh, behind the back. Yes.
My 8-year-old telling me he hated my OCD. Since doing the 4-day treatment, to hear my 8-year-old tell me, Mommy, I'm proud of you, made it worth it.
Jack, had some troubles in school for a little while. And now it's like, look at what your mother just went through. This huge transformation. And it's hard. It's very, very hard. But look what she's been able to accomplish since then. You kind of look back and try to figure out, how does someone really go through that much of a transformation? And then realize that it is possible.
I'm sure there's a lot of skeptics out there that think, how can you, 4 days, after looking at someone who's gone through exposure therapy or someone who's been on medication and they're still struggling, how can you do it in 4 days? After struggling with OCD for 40 years and thinking that there's no way out of it, and like I told my husband, there's no way I could do the exposure therapy, there is a way. I like to say that, I have OCD, but OCD doesn't have me.